Now, this track is pretty dynamic. You have the big bank in the front, and then you drop down from like 88 miles an hour on the initiation. You're dropping down to like 30 miles an hour on the infield. How are you setting up the car? Are you strategizing for more of the bank or more of the infield?
We're trying to do both, you know, and what's cool here is that the bank, there's a lot of grip on the bank, and we can't run maximum mechanical grip because of that banking. But in turn 2, you can. So we're using a bunch of NASCAR tricks. We're trying to make the car follow that dynamic track and make it easy to drive while still having the grip we need to hang with these guys. And so far, I think we're on the right track. But ask me again tonight, and we'll see how this goes.
We'll see you later.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Some great insight as we run it back with James Deane and Kenshiro Gushi. James, great placement of the vehicle, high on the bank. Gushi, again, he had to get his car tight and right. As, again, looking at it again, that overhead view. James, perfect car placement. A lot of eyeballs on him. Jacob, as we saw that, Cerese's great interview with Frederick, but what stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, James just hitting the ground running right off the bat, absolutely crushing out this entire run. Ken Gushi able to get into the pocket to the best of his ability throughout this, but the speed that comes off those RTR vehicles is absolutely nuts. Ken chopping a bit of line on outside zone 3 in order to get back into it. Then through our inside clip, Ken does a great job of timing everything out. And really, for James Deane, he is just laying down what we absolutely expect from a driver with an 86% battle win rate. This is how things are going to go with him. And, I mean, as we swap things around for Ken, he's got to lay down an absolutely monster lead run and hope that something strange happens in the chase for James Deane.
And you know, James does have a kryptonite. As great as we say he is, he's not perfect all the time. He's definitely a weapon. That dude is driving probably more than anybody. I mean, a lot of these drivers, and you've seen it, Drift Masters, FD, and look at that, just dropping a formation, a little waggle there, but then boom, finds a sweet spot. Ken Gushi, he's putting down the heat of a run right now. He did exactly what you anticipated, Jacob. He put down a great lead run, going to that power alley. I like to call it the Power Boulevard because we have widened it 2 lanes, went from 2 to 4. Both on the outside zone 2 and 3, past an inside clip, transitioning down to outside zone 4, the unforgiving wall, fighting back. Gushi did exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah.
The truth serum will set you free, my friend, because we're talking about that overhead camera. We have a couple drones here. Aaron piling the truth serum. That's that locked and loaded overhead that's really going to highlight some great mistakes or some great makes.
Yeah, for Ken Gushi, I mean, he's got almost 300 battles under his belt. He knows what he needs to do in these situations, and he lays down an amazing lead run there and a big left foot brake to try and get the car pushed out the second outside zone. But to shake James Deane is incredibly difficult. But that lead run from Ken Gushi, super solid to kick things off here. And yeah, it's not going to be an easy decision there for the judges, especially when we're comparing those 2 lead runs.
And you can see the placement of the vehicle. James isn't as deep, but I think what's interesting here is it's setting precedence of what's expected and what the drivers are capable of.
Yeah.
I know the drivers meeting this morning, drivers are talking about, okay, we've widened outside zone 1 going into 2. The judges modified a little bit and put in a, you know, we call it the momentum map, but I'm just going to say a decel area going off of outside zone 1 into 2. But I think it's discretionary because, you know, going into outside zone 2, they're going to slow down naturally because you're at angle, and ideally you throw more angle at it, slowing down the car. But to go from 2 to 3 is going to be really hard because, like I said, the power alley has become the power boulevard or freeway. So as we take a look, you can see James leading on the left and Ken Gushi leading on the right.
Yeah, so obviously we know both drivers had a great lead run, but let's start taking a look at the chase here. Who's got the better both, you know, lead and angle and proximity? It's a mix of all 3 of those when we talk about the chase because both these leads pretty solid. It may end up coming down to James Deane's ability to fill outside zone 3 while he's in the chase, still keeping that line, keeping the proximity and mirroring the angle to the best of his ability. And there's been a lot of discussion about the lead line here, but not a lot of discussion about the chase. And for these drivers, everyone's got their leads dialed. It's going to be the chase that wins you this event. In my mind, that's how it's going to go.
I said that yesterday, and it absolutely rings true. James Deane gets the win, and I would just say that little X factor on the chase position. A fun guy. Branden Sorensen, clean cut.
Yes.
Very bespoke. Looks of the Air Force quality. 2 weapons of drivers. Here we go. 2 different schools of thought. An OG, a veteran, Andy Haley, that Evo AutoWorks BMW. Branden Sorensen, United States Air Force BMW. Haley and Sorensen, a little ways right there. Some pickups here and there, out to outside zone 2, into outside zone 3. Sorensen checks up a little bit, but want to take a look at that overhead, take another glance at that past the inside clip. Haley places the car properly. Branden falls back a little bit. He finds himself little closer there, but Haley might have impeded a little bit. I know that back bumper got shed on the outside zone 1. That definitely could have gotten Branden's way. And again, I think it was due to contact. I don't think it just like popped off.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not an ejecto bumper.
Yeah,
Andy right up here looks like he's struggling just a little bit to really get the tires lit off. It took, maybe it's just the angle, maybe the shadows playing games with us, but it took a bit. Branden does a good job of holding back that BMW because it is one of the fastest cars here. They've got it so strung out and so dialed. I think a lot of it is him trying to fight to hold that back, because Andy does have a pretty solid lead run, but maybe not as quick as what you would expect out of Branden. Now they swap this around. The question will become, can Andy hang with the speed that I think Sorensen's about to throw down? Yeah, quick look back at yesterday. Branden did win our seeding, picked up a bunch of points, picked up a lot of experience in doing so, and that is the massive benefit of running through that seeding, is the track time, the experience, and the points for any of these drivers, because we always focus on that finals. We always focus on who's going to win the big championship, but for some drivers, they want to be in the top 5. That's their big goal for the year. They want to be Rookie of the Year. Branden Sorensen, though, absolute clinic all the way through, and to beat out Odie Bakchis, that alone is a massive, massive thing to be able to do.
Yeah, there it is. You can see it was a Branden, Odie, Simon in the seeding brackets, and that's, seeding bracket. You find yourself in the seeding bracket if you're not top 16 of the previous round.
Yeah.
So just for clarification there, seeding brackets again, top 16 from our previous round. St. Louis most recently. If you're in the 16, you're locked and loaded going into the next round. So that's why Branden, Odie, and obviously Simon found themselves there. And Haley locked and loaded. Here we go. Speaking of locked and loaded, here goes Branden Sorensen. A great initiation, high on the bank. He needs to throw some more angle at it. Look at that thing wavering. He is flirting with that wall, and that wall is unforgiving. Haley very low on the bank, and you talk about the speed of Branden's car, and it's very evident right now as Andy Haley gets gapped right now, going past that inside clip. Branden maneuvers, and Haley rotates, spins, and that's just going to be, unfortunately, the Drift Wizard's nail in the coffin for him. No sorcery could get him out of that weapon, as the BMW of Branden Sorensen comes out very dominant, breaks his wrist in that arm wrestling competition.
Yeah, Branden very, very aggressive here, really getting the car into the wall, gets back on throttle, gets the wall again. So we've got 3 different hits on that first outside zone. Andy Haley, we'll have to see on another replay, how does that affect him? And then Branden through this through the outside zone, back again, getting on the throttle, maybe a touch late. Inside clip looks good. And then does have a bit of a stall up there to the last zone, where it's tough because Branden's run was very aggressive, maybe not smooth. And for Andy, he just doesn't really get into the fight through a lot of it. So is he in a position, being that far back, where what Branden was doing in the lead was actually affecting him?
I don't think so.
Yeah, this is a massive topic of discussion right now, is that cause and effect when it comes to the lead and chase, and what happens in the lead, and how does that affect the chase car, and how far back does a chase car need to be before it is no longer affected?
Absolutely situational.
So much.
So in that instance, I would say that Branden, yes, he was lacking the angle. He was tight on the wall, but straightened out, had some wavering. Andy was down there. I think it was kind of over before it began. I love Andy's driving, love how aggressive he is. Obviously just a big personality, love what he's doing, but unfortunately I think at launch he initiated, was low on the bank. Branden was off to the races, and you can see just how modular that vehicle is. Look at the bumper, the fiber, the carbon fiber. They'll swap that thing out, look like a brand new car.
Yeah.
For I'm just gonna call it for 16, because I believe Branden got this. But still some review over here. Look at that, they are reviewing. So maybe I've been wrong, and I'm just saying. So we will see.
Yeah, there's a few things that they're discussing. There's a few things in the rule book that they're probably looking at with
trunks
this.
In the way?
Well, I mean,
hood, hatch, door. I mean, the rule is hood, hatch, door, anything latched. If it opens it up and it impedes, is that what you're implying?
Well, yeah, potentially, but there is a precautionary measure in that, because it was due to contact. So that's the other part. If the trunk were to just fly open out of nowhere, that's one thing. So let's take a look here, because as aggressive as Branden's
on the right screen or left?
Let's go with the right here. Branden really, he's banging off the wall. Andy doesn't have that opportunity to really get in there from that. Now, he does fall way back for the rest of this run. That would be possibly the argument, if I had the cone hat on and I was arguing for Andy's camp, that's the argument I'd be making.
Here's the talking hat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Not the talking stick, but Here's the cone hat.
Maybe that's what we have to do for all of our drivers' meetings now. We get a talking hat that gets passed around. That'd go real well.
If you get to pass around your stinky beanie.
No. We'll find something.
Don't wish that upon anybody.
No. It loses its magic that way. So.
Oh, you have harnessed the magic of Canada. All right, slide him left for Andy Haley or right for Branden Sorensen. And it looks like there it is, Branden Sorensen. And, you know, again, no fault to Andy Haley, just aggressive. Sorensen, I think, like you said, but I respect the judges taking the time to give it the respect it deserves.
Yeah.
And really dive and delve into, was Haley impeded his performance and line and all that by Branden? I don't think so. So I think that right decision was made. So
yeah, and
great
judges agree.
Yep. All right. Here we go. Moving on to our next battle. Jeff Jones, Nick Noback. Jones, fierce competitor. Nick Noback, I know he just lost his pup recently. He posted that. He's had a tough 365 last year. So I want to send a shout out to Nick Noback and his love. So here we go. Jeff Jones in that Evil Auto Works Nissan Z. High on the bank. Noback. Looks like he's got a big angle from him. He was getting a little squirrely yesterday past that outside zone 2 into 3. Jones is putting the car in the right place, but this is what I was talking about. Nick, just him and his track just aren't completely jiving. It's just not coming together for him. In practice yesterday, in seeding, he got it done, but just not coming together for him.
Yeah, just not able to find the flow and where he needs to be. Jeff a little bit lower on the bank, not too bad, but gets that smoke going immediately. Look at the speed coming out of Jeff Jones. For Nick Noback, another incredibly fast car on this track. He's not able to keep it dialed. Jeff keeps a ton of speed coming off that now. He does slow down a little bit before that transition. The judges really want you to slow down after transition. Noback does a great job of adapting to that section. So for me, I mean, Noback on the first outside bank, that's where he was struggling. The rest of this track, he does make some concessions, cuts some line and transitions pretty early, but it does mean that he's able to pick up that inside clip in that final outside zone. So it becomes one of those situations where if you're feeling like you're behind, where do you cut? Where do you maybe drop a zone to make sure that you gain some proximity a little bit further back?
Also, from yesterday to today, the finish line has been truncated due to basically when they cross the finish line, you can go left and go to basically the driver's meeting tent. There's a wall there. Not forgiving, again. So they wanted to leak out right. So that's why they truncated that finish line. Here we go. So Nick Noback now looks like he's found that special sauce. That Noback run tires. BMW, look at Jeff Jones hopping. Look how soft that suspension is. That thing was just absolutely a pillow on cloud. And in that third outside zone, Noback looks like, you know, I spoke too soon. Looks like he is working it out. He just needed that clean air versus that chase position. Speaking of chase, Jeff Jones banging doors into that last outside zone and crossing the finish line. Are you not entertained?
That was definitely spicy.
That was good, dude. That was a little habanero.
Yeah.
Not full on, you know.
Yeah, we're not
Scovilles.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not doing hot ones.
Just enough to be a little uncomfortable. But yeah, Nick Noback gets up on the wall. Does a really good job here. Look at Jeff Jones really trying to hunt down Nick Noback all the way through the first outside zone. Then Noback makes that big correction to add angle so he doesn't shoot off outside zone 2. And then floats things out to 3, gets a little bit of a wall tap in there. Jeff Jones does a great job of adapting to it through this transition. What an amazing job from Jeff Jones to time that out. Really gets to the inside. Expert level transition. That's so difficult to get right. And got to have a lot of trust in that lead driver too to be able to pull something like that off. So shouts out to both those guys for absolutely laying down throughout this run.
I think what Jeff did there was, especially there at the end, showed he had the car and showed he could drive. Look at this. We're bumping. No, you know, Jeff bumps Noback. Justin Smash with the drone bumps Jeff. This is totes and torps, man.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, the love is real right now.
Yeah.
Group hug. Trust fall. He goes
Definitely
almost in the
fall.
back of the Nissan Z of Jeff Jones. But I think Jeff bashing the door was showing that he had the prowess. He could get that proximity. Showed up a little bit late, but overall, I'll tell you what, Nick Noback, I think, surprised even himself.
Yeah, and now for the judges, let's start really dissecting what's going on. Where's the proximity? Where's the line in the chase? Because we know what the leads look like. Jeff not as close on further tell as to what was going on. And Nick has a couple of spots there on the chase where he does quite well. So this is tough. This is a lot tougher than maybe we thought it was going to be based on that first run.
But this is what I was talking about as far as, you know, the three, the speed, the proximity, the angle, all of those elements, good, fast, and cheap. I think you know, what we saw, and that's why I really like James, who is, again, defending champion. He wasn't really deep in the chase position. He had good proximity, but wasn't as deep as the lead car. So I think that really sets precedence, you know. So, and look at, here we go, one more time.
Yeah.
And like you said, oh, look at that. So, again, Robbie Nishida actually sided with Jeff, but it is majority rule, so 2-1. Jeff and Noback will go at it again. And here we go with O'Sully, Connor O'Sullivan. And re-entering the chat room, Wataru Masuyama. After Daigo Saito was not allowed in to the States, the keys were handed over from Jerry Yang to Masuyama. So here he is in that Jerry Yang Racing, the GT Radial 3M Toyota 86. Connor O'Sullivan, pro-spec competitor, making the jump from pro-spec to pro this year. United States Army, BMW. O'Sullivan initiates, working his way up top. Masuyama not shaking too much. The car's very settled there. Now O'Sullivan, you can see pulling up that front right tire. You can see that thing rip up into the power alley. Masuyama a little late on transition. Want to take a look at that? And it looked like O'Sullivan hung it out to dry. Masuyama couldn't really go anywhere. Let's take a look at it again. Right? It seemed like he hung it out there a little too long and got that 86 in the side of him. So we're going to have to, again, take a look at that overhead.
Yeah, it was a really interesting run, especially near the end, but off the bat, things look really solid for both drivers. Connor O'Sullivan right up on the wall, gets a bit of a tap there. Masuyama not shaking at any point. Does an amazing job of mirroring both the line and the angle. And, I mean, good proximity. So much speed coming through that second outside zone, that third outside zone. O'Sullivan just a bit too much angle, and it's not able to get that forward drive out to catch the inside clip. It stalls things up, but for Masuyama, another amazing job of adapting to what the lead car is doing. So let's see with this drone view, what goes wrong for Connor O'Sullivan. It looks like completely maxed out on angle and just not able to keep that momentum coming through outside zone 3 to be able to collect the inside clip. So it's a bit too much angle, doesn't get that bite, doesn't get that drive out of it to push him to the next part of the track that needs to be in it. For Wataru, I mean, I can't say it enough. He is coming back really, really strong after a brief hiatus.
Yeah, I can't believe how quickly he adapted to that vehicle. I mean, Jerry Yang, he definitely builds vehicles that are capable. You know, you're seeing that with Manoa. We saw that with Kazuya Taguchi, obviously Daigo Saito. Daigo and that car, you know, I know Daigo really wanted like a big American kind of V8, so jumping in that car, it's obviously capable. So, you know, Masuyama taking a hiatus, coming back, you know, he did campaign in S15 previous years, but seems like he's not even skipping a beat, man, just back at it like a track addict, as we are looking at James Deane's Mustang RTR Spec 5 FD. Great video. Love Von Gittin Jr. I know he's not here in the building, but that new GTD Ford Mustang number 25. Beautiful looking car, that lead foot gray. I don't know if you've seen that vehicle. Those are popping up, deliveries. Stunning. Holy cow. Give me the keys. Thanks, Vaughn. I appreciate it. My birthday's October, but you shouldn't have. You know my address. I'll expect it when I get back home. Going to Edmonton this weekend. Got an awesome event on Wednesday night. Hot August nights at Rad Tuerck Raceway.
Nice.
So it's going to be fun. Snap-on teams next weekend. So that should be fun in Florida. But right now, it's a party here in Seattle. The battle in Seattle. Wataru Masuyama. Little, looks like maybe a Konos hit or somebody jumped it. Konos hit. All right, Konos hit. So we adopt the traditional stick and ball sports. 3 strikes. You're out of there. As James Deane keeping calm. Got his cool shirt. Literally, it's called a cool shirt. You can see the tubing there, keeping it cool. Nice temperature. A little warm for Pacific Northwest standards, so reapply, all you northerners here. You too, Jacob. I know you got the beanie that keeps you, but no bill. So
I've seen a few burnt people here. They were not ready for the sun, that's for sure.
No. SPF Canada.
Yeah.
Go and throw that on. SPF Sherwin-Williams. Just paint yourself with that and protect yourself. Yo, the beer garden and the little smoking area here, probably some of the best seats.
That's a great spot coming off the bank.
Bro,
man.
Those are like the smoke people. That's the smoking section. Literally not just smoking lung darts, but also cranking some smoke and debris in their face. Here we go, Masuyama and Juku Racing. 86 ripping right now as Masuyama and O'Sullivan cannot be shaken. Yes, sir. Into that second outside zone. Masuyama brings it on into the third outside zone. O'Sullivan comes up a bit short than United States Army BMW. Now pass it inside. Into that last zone. O'Sullivan transitions. Masuyama stays in it. Passion doors, bathing ape, smoky ape is more like it. Well done by Masuyama.
Yeah.
Pin it to win it. Didn't flop. This ain't no, you know, basketball, soccer. You're like, my ankle. No, man. Masuyama took a licking, kept on ticking.
Yeah, what a great run. Connor O'Sullivan, knowing he's got that mistake on his first run, really has to battle back. Look at the contact already on the bank. just charging into the side of Wataru, who at no point even like provides any sign of backing down. Lots of speed through these transitions, gets the car checked up, and right here, Sully knows he's got to make a dive, comes to the inside clip, loads it up, there it is, big old bash to the side of Wataru, who doesn't back down in any second. What a great run from both these drivers. Connor O'Sullivan, he's got to make this back. He's got to make an impact. He's got to do something crazy. And for Wataru, just a little bit more of the same, that consistency. I know this car is set up very different than the way they've got it for Manoa. I chatted with Jerry about it, and Wataru made it his own. He's doing such a good job in this car.
So what is he like? What is Daigo thinking? You know,
no, it is much floatier than what we see with Hero, and but for the style that Wataru drives with, it's worked out so well.
Yeah.
And for Connor O'Sully, got to make something happen.
Oh, O'Sully knew Wataru has shown up and he's shown out. So O'Sully knocked out early in 32.
Yeah, and I mean, going back in the history of their battles, Nick Noback does have the one win. They've only met once before. I feel like it's been more than that, but yeah,
right?
Nick Noback getting the win out of that battle, and for Jeff Jones, he wants to clean that back up and do a really, really good job, and we'll see how this ends up playing out for him.
All right, play it out, as he says. Here we go. Jeff Jones will lead Noback in the chase. Jones initiates. He falls down a little bit on the bank. And look at Noback. Where did he find the secret sauce? Gaining some more power and proximity. Jones holds that front right. He is absolutely on it. Again, we talked about that decel area that is justified, but a lot of these guys aren't even slowing down. They are momentuming their way into that power alley, into a lot smoother, refined like fine wine. That was really nice. Gaining some applause from the fans here at Evergreen. Really well done by Jones and Noback.
Yeah, you go back and you watch that run. You understand where you made the mistake, but look at Jeff Jones. Great amount of speed through that. Noback takes a tighter line to gain that proximity, does a good job of matching the angle. That's not something we talk about enough. Very difficult to be able to keep the proximity and match the angle. Now, Jeff, still a ton of speed coming through 2, does a good job through 3. Nick, not able to sink back all the way, but very, very smooth from both drivers all the way through, nice and flowy. All the changes that were made at this track, the widening, the change of momentum zones, all of it was to build a better tandem, and that means nice and floaty runs. Everything very predictable for the chase driver. Lead drivers, they've got this nailed. Everybody's laying down solid lead runs, and really becomes that chase game of how much proximity can you get without giving up a bunch of line or giving up a bunch of angle.
And you said it out of the gate. Chase, chase, chase. That's really what's going to decide a winner, a loser, an overall winner here. I think that's just going to be the defining moment of getting it done. How you chase, because that really defines what you can do, your car control, placement, all of it, utilizing all of the tools in your toolbox. Here we go. So Jeff Jones, you can see him, boom, quickly jump to the side of Nick Noback. Noback out front with red and black and smoking all over this battle. As we can see, Noback coming in. Jones getting a lot of grip. You saw that thing snap, and he gripped up, and you saw him, again, gapped up in that chase position. Now, this is very reminiscent of what we saw in that first battle. Had to play catch-up. We also saw that from O'Sullivan. Is that the play? We will see. So again, get that overhead view. Notably, it looked like Jeff hung it out a little bit too much on the outside zone 2, ended up fighting him, but he quickly got to the side of him in 3.
Yeah, he used that problem and turned it into an opportunity, which is a sign of a veteran driver. But look at Jeff, right in on the hunt all the way through. Nick with those adjustments coming off outside zone 1, outside zone 2 looks good. Jeff just a little bit too much angle, catches a grip, and that's a big mistake there, missing all of outside zone 3, but does a great job of catching back up, and Nick Noback going a little bit wide through outside zone 4. Jeff Jones not taking the bait, running it into the wall. So for me, I mean, Jeff has such an amazing drive through the first outside zone, but Nick Noback provides all that opportunity. Look how stable it is. And there's those 2 corrections we see from Nick Noback. Jeff does a good job of adapting, but then just checks up a little bit too much through outside zone 2. Of course, Nick Noback on the throttle all the way through. Absolutely blown through that momentum zone.
You're tripping if you're gripping, and that's exactly what Jeff Jones did in that second outside zone. We'll see if that was an unfortunate turn of events, but like you said, Noback very settled on that first outside zone. And I mean, that just as big as it is and long as it is, to be that stable, that fast, like you said, quarter-mile drag strip, but sideways.
Yeah, it's so tough to do, and the track conditions change. You've got some spots that are in shadow, so the temperature will be a little bit different than the spots that are in light. And these drivers can feel it. Even a 15, 20 degree difference in track temp can mean everything when it comes to these drivers. They're making micro adjustments that you know, from up here, we may not be able to see. The judges are able to identify so many of them. But for both of these drivers to have such a great run on outside zone 1 was awesome. And will that one checkup for Jeff Jones be the nail in the coffin for him in this battle?
We'll see. But like this, going one more time. And again, kudos to the judges. We're really we're not trying to see as many one more times we have in the year past. Don't award not bad runs, but don't award lackluster runs.
Yeah.
Let's award, okay, that was so good, it's really hard to decide. But look at this, Jeff Jones gets 1 vote, one more time, and one more time.
Wow, okay.
You're off to do drift masters, and that's, so imagine not just announcing driving, right, it's very admirable. Speaking of admirable, let's talk about the Dozer. Local legend, Dylan Dozer Hughes, that royal purple BMW, he's going against Ben Hobson. Sliding to the door, look at him just shimming his way to the side. Oh, he overcooks it. Going from outside zone 1 into 2. It might have been 1 or 2 tires. I don't think it was an incomplete, but there goes the Dozer. He knows this course. He's won this course. Evergreen Drift. He's from up here. Him and his brother Travis Reeder, they cut their teeth here. Reeder's not driving, but I know he's obviously a local legend as well. Let's take a look.
Yeah, a lot of pressure for both drivers. Obviously, Dylan in front of the home fans, and for Ben, just really got to try to get into that top 16. Ben has got so much aggression in here, and then Dylan slows down, and coming off that bank through outside zone 1, and then that was it. Ben not able to hang at that point. I mean, we can take a look here at the map here in a minute to really describe what all was going on, but yeah, that momentum change off of 1, that's what ended up doing it for Ben Hobson, man. That is a tough way to go, but yeah, it is what it is. So a lot of changes made even this morning to the track. You talked about the finish line being a little bit shorter to aid in how
the flow.
Yeah, and the other part that was added in was a bit of a decel. The drivers asked for it. They wanted a spot where they could make a momentum change from outside zone 1 to outside zone 2.
What's your take on that?
Well, Dylan made a momentum change out of 1 into 2, but it's allowed, and unfortunately Ben was on the other side of it.
Here we go, Ben Hobson, the Pennzoil Mustang RTR, rips into that first outside zone. Good angle from him. Oh man, dragging bump, not leaving anything but a down, and literally leaving a bumper on the wall. Coming down to that second power out and second outside zone in the power alley. Nice job. I mean, Ben is on it. The car is on rails. And into that last outside zone, and that was probably one of the best lead runs we've seen.
Yeah.
Just as far as aggressiveness, placement, sideways, speed, all of it. Hats off to Ben Hobson. Might have got a bit of bad luck in that chase position, but again, apples, apples.
Yeah, that's how it goes. Yeah, Ben Hobson, obviously angry. He's upset, he's mad, and he's taking it completely out on that Mustang, banging it up against the wall. But look at Dylan, knowing he's got a bit of an advantage. His spotter would have been in his ear, letting him know that Ben, I think maybe dropping a wheel there through outside zone 2, but on so much speed through the majority of this run. I don't know if he lifted off the throttle at any point. It's a wild run. Ben just throwing caution to the wind, getting crazy out there in the lead, just trying to shake off Dylan Hughes, because that's what you have to do at that point. You almost have to lay down this crazy run to see what happens in the chase if they have some sort of error. But judges taking another look here. So Dylan Hughes, let's talk about the chase. So Dylan completely planted all the way through. He has the proximity. He's not completely on the door, but does a great job. And then even through here, doesn't maybe have the correct angle, but uses that to be able to cut back in. Does take out a little bit of outside zone 3 and then transitions out to outside zone 4. I mean, Dylan Hughes just calculated all the way through. Didn't bite at any point where it was going to catch him, and does such a great job at keeping things back as these drivers get out of the car. I mean, Warriors, young drivers.
Look at love. It's all
so
love.
Good.
Two great young men. Take the cars away. Fantastic young men. Love their energy. Really positive outlook. And we talk about Dylan Hughes and being a local legend. Looks like he gets the victory. The Dozer gets the win. This weekend of you, Gleb and Matt Risher. All right, moving on to the battle. Another one more time. So what's going through their mind? Where are they at? What can I do to solidify an advancement? Jeff Jones initiates. Nick Noback not backing down. Put a T in that last name. And there you have it as Jeff Jones comes into the power alley. You can see that second outside zone. Transitioning to outside zone 3. You can see how the track has been modified. Noback diving in way too early. Very shallow on outside zone 3. Bringing it into 4. And Nick Noback reels him back in. Puts another notch in that belt towards the finish line.
Yeah, they're trying to just figure out what do they need to do to beat the other driver. And in a lot of cases, right now, it's just to clean up a few of those mistakes. Nick Noback does such a great job in the chase through first part of outside zone 1. Look at this, completely on the side of Jeff Jones, who now adds that touch more angle, then drives out to outside zone 2. I don't know if he had a bit of a decel there, but then gets back on throttle. Now Jeff, unfortunately, missing most of outside zone 3, and Nick Noback now has to really quell his aggression. And you want to dive in, you want to put that impact in, especially after going 2-1 more times, but you don't want to overcommit and create an issue. And yeah, for Jeff Jones, that car is really gripped up, and when it bites, it's biting him really hard. Outside zone 3, transitions around, instead of the car floating back and getting into that zone, he's missing it. So for me, Jeff Jones, it's maybe a go back to the string lines, take a look, see how you can get that car maybe realigned a bit, something, because just when he's coming off throttle like that, the car's not floating out the way he wants it to.
I think floating's really coming into play, especially 2 to 3. Here we go, Noback out front, Jeff Jones for the second one more time, so 2 more times in this instance. You can see the wavering there. Now coming down the power alley, let's get precision. Let's not get crazy. Let's dial it in. There goes Noback in the outside zone. Jeff, you talk about the settlement, but look at that car just bouncing around in the last outside zone. Jeff once again. So a little bit of temperament, and the crowd erupts.
Yeah, great battle there. Absolutely great battle from both drivers who, they've got a lot of data on what the judges are looking for. I mean, there's a lot of notes coming back in after those 2 one more times, but to me, Nick Noback really cleaned things up on this run. So Nick Noback right out there, lights off the tires really early, not completely into the wall, but he's keeping a lot of proximity to it and not a lot of adjustments. That front wheel stays on that dotted line all the way through there. Does a great job for the first outside zone. Transition, slows down, second outside zone, just skimming the edge of it, but was deeper than the way Jeff was when he had the lead run. And the rest of these transitions for Nick Noback look super solid. These floaty cars, these loose, kind of controllable, stylish cars seem to be the ones that are taking the advantage right now. We saw it with Derek Madison last night.
And that was a happy accident.
That's
dude, call him Bob Ross, dude, because that thing was an absolute happy accident. Slide him left for Jones or right for Nick Noback after not 1 but 2, 3 battles. Noback comes out on top. Jeff Jones, the Evo Auto Works Nissan Z, knocked out, but Nick Noback, it came together. Driving Dmitry Brutsky's Pro Spec BMW. He dropped the piston, motors popped, so he got the keys from Brutsky, and here he is driving this vehicle for the first time. So this is allowed. We'll get into it just a little bit, but Derek Madison and Shanahan, shoot, get this guy a BMW. No problem at all. D-Max falling back quite a bit. Shanahan handling that vehicle, transitioning, gaining a little chuckle here from Jacob. You're like, what, how? I mean, he looks like a vet, like he's been driving this car all season.
We've seen scenarios like this before. Tommy Lemaire back in Long Beach, right? Drivers get put under the gun, they get put into a car that they're maybe not comfortable with. Now, we've seen Shanahan in BMW, so that's not anything crazy here, but not this one, not one that is not built for this size of tire, but you could not tell. Now, he does have to pull out a good chunk of angle to keep that speed, and Derek Madison pretty low on the bank, but yeah, Connor Shanahan out front, filling all those zones, absolutely flying through this course, considering, and for Derek Madison, he does a great job of cleaning things up through the second half of the run, but up on the bank, maybe D-Mads wasn't sure what was going to happen with Shanahan, but Shanahan was pretty sure.
Too much room.
Yeah, too much space. Now, I do like that D-Mads is able to dive in outside zone 3 and then collect the rest of this run, but outside zone 1 is kind of half the entire run, and then misses 2, but yeah, Connor Shanahan, you could give him a tricycle and he's still going to do the whole thing. This is wild.
There's an LS tricycle, sick, dude.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the
the reason why Shanahan dropped a piston, motors popped, doesn't have the motor, so he parked his vehicle. That is why he is driving Brutsky's Pro Spec vehicle. So D-Mads now out front, and that horsepower difference. What is Connor going to do? How is he going to adapt a new car? And like I said, it's one from the back, and Shanahan shows up. Derek Madison put the car in the right places, but look at Shanahan adapt into outside zone 3. D-Mads, you saw that rates of angle, and then he threw more angle at it. That could have got a little sketchy there outside zone 4. I think Shanahan's going to campaign this car the rest of the season, just saying.
Yeah.
As the Irish flag waves here from the fans in the stands. Well done by, again, D-Mad's good lead run,
Yeah.
but was it too little too late for him?
Yeah, I think so, especially with that first outside zone of the chase. A bit of a struggle for him, but D-Mads gets up onto the bank, not quite as deep. Really what you're looking for, that front tire that we see there. Want to see that right on that dotted line, if not further in, but D-Mad's not able to really push it that far, and then can't extend out to outside zone 2. Shanahan in the chase, though, does a great job of adapting all the way through. D-Mad's car looks tightened up again. I don't know. It looks like it's really, really quick in the straight line. It doesn't want to hold that angle. It is fast, but he's not able to get the angle and get that car where it needs to go. Yeah, it's tough. We did see a Derek Madison yesterday that looked really, really good, and I'm not sure what all has changed, but right now, that car not able to make it out to all those zones, not able to float it.
Well, you said you're getting some messages there, you know, on the streams and everything, and like you said, some things were shaky and loose, but sometimes you just need that little extra unknown, the X factor. And Derek Madison, whatever nut he tightened, definitely needs to loosen it, because like you said, the car seems to be gripping up a lot more. And look at this, Shanahan gets the win in Brudski's Pro Spec backup car. He advances, so down but not out by any means. Unfortunately, Derek Madison knocked out. Got the heat waves on, and right now, look at this, Adam LZ and Austin Matta. Adam LZ currently 3rd in points after that victory, notably in New Jersey. He loves that track. He does his own events. We're going to be out there a couple weeks for Legend of Drift, out there with Sun Kang and whatnot in the All-Star cast. Here we go. Adam LZ, Drift HQ BMW. That E36 now coming into that first outside zone. Austin corrects quite a bit. A big mistake there from Austin now coming to that power alley. Look at the speed. Austin, where are you at? Bang, jumps out of the closet like a magic show in outside zone 3. Pass it inside clip. I'll tell you what, Adam LZ just has this confidence with this car, where he's at. It's his own thing. And like he said in Jersey, you know, he's won before, notably in the Mustang, but running and campaigning his own vehicle and doing it on his own accord, he's really stoked.
Yeah, incredibly comfortable. And it's funny because if you were to watch him in practice, they were trying wild stuff. I chatted with Matt Spotter, and I was like, what are you guys doing? What's going on out here? And he goes, let's try it now, and that way we know what we need to do when we come into battles. And Adam knows what he needs to do in this battle. Absolutely locked and loaded all the way through the whole thing. For Matta, just tough to hang. It's an Adam LZ that's using everything the lock that he can, and the wheel speed looks completely dialed. Everything about Adam's car right now looks great. His driving is incredible. This is an amazing momentum weekend for him. Unfortunately for Austin Matta, who does still lay down a great run, when you're going against a driver who's on a complete heater, it is going to be tough. So we'll swap him around and see what happens next.
Yeah, you could just feel kind of the energy coming off him. You know, Cerise talking with him and just where he's at, the smile. Just he seems like he's in a good place. You know, just all collectively, you can just see his energy focus. You know, it's great to see him. He's just been a great addition over the years. A rookie of the year in years past in the Pro Spec Championship. So here we go. Austin now out front. It does Matta. As Austin Matta out front, coming out into that power alley. Quick little correction there. Get that car just right in the outside zone 2. Big angle. You can see him throwing out, and I like that. Just aggressive. Big flick from Austin in his last outside zone. That does allow LZ. I mean, talk about adaptability. Just drops into formation like the Blue Angels and brings it on home. So a good effort, but Adam, again, one to watch. I mean, he is in the hunt for a championship.
Yeah, he's got everything locked in. But Austin Matta, what a great lead run here. Holds that line super well. Could be a little bit deeper, but has a ton of speed. Adam does a great job of adapting to the line that Matta puts out. Has to take a bit of angle out of the car to push it wide for the second outside zone. Third outside zone looks good. And Matta's sinking it in there, and then tons of angle through our inside clip. And Adam times that transition so well. Matta getting a little bit late to outside zone 4, but still collects all of it. So both these drivers, I mean, I really think Matta's run against so many other drivers to have him moving on to the top 16, but for this battle against Adam LZ, it's just tough. This is who his pairing ends up becoming, because Adam's on a complete heater and does a great job of adapting everything that Austin's throwing down in the lead.
Yeah, it was, like I said, the adaptability, what he's doing, how he's modifying that car. It's just so cool. And the E36, I mean, it's wildly popular in Europe. You know, he wrote one off last year, gets it back together, or gets a new car, and rightfully so. Adam LZ, you know, it's cool to see his progression from BMX to drifting to his car collection that people envy, just the Hot Wheels collection. He's got him 1-to-1. He gets the win, moves on. It's TLO and Rudy Hansen. Thanks for tuning in. We got Miles Parrish tuning in. What up, dog? No, you're a big drift fan. Saw you at Long Beach. Hopefully see you at LB2. Luke, Formula Dread, tuning in. We got Emily here from Pat Albin's office watching as well. And all Canada's watching. The French-speaking. Qu'est-ce que c'est TLO? Here we go. Tommy Lemaire out front. In that Corvette. Rudy Hansen can't miss that thing. Coming to that chase position. Big gap there. We need Rudy to lunge, and lunge he does. I said lunge, not lunge. Go ahead and eat that smoke pile. Ooh, Tommy Lemaire comes out of drift a little bit. Rudy diving in way early on the outside zone 3. You saw him transition in way early and quick. I think that was the level of compromisation that he needed to do, or felt that he needed to do. All right. Now crossing that finish line. So some room for improvement on both sides of it. Tommy out front. Rudy, you saw him start right off the bat, pretty far back. Yeah, for TLO, I really like how things looked to that first outside zone, but kind of loses a bit of patience and isn't able to hold that all the way out and has to make a big change for Rudy, though. I mean, yeah, TLO, that's a big correction to get out to the second outside zone. Everything else looks good, but for Rudy, that first outside zone, that was struggle to keep up with the speed of the Corvette for the Canadian. And Tommy, I mean, he's going to feel that. He's going to internalize that correction. We see it here one more time. Look at how much angle he's got to take out just to get to that zone. Does that chop off Rudy Hansen? Does that create an issue in the chase? But really for Rudy, kind of just a spectator through the first outside zone, front row seat to the TLO show. Like that. Got the VVIP. He's got the best seat in the house. I tell you what, you know, there's an experience and then there's an experience. I'll tell you what. Rudy Hansen will lead. Tommy Lemaire will give chase. Let's see what Rudy could do out front. He's got the clean air. I still think there's a window of opportunity. I don't see the needle going either way dramatically as far as a verdict here. So if Rudy puts down a good lead run or Tommy puts on a dominant chase run, that's going to be the deciding factor. Rudy initiates, but look at Tommy just wavering. I mean, the car looks like it's an IKEA shopping cart, you know, just that thing just shimmying around, now coming into that second outside zone, now sliding into the third. There goes Rudy Hansen, great placement. Tommy Lemaire aggressive. So Rudy gave Tommy that opportunity to chase him down, and Tommy seized the moment. Carpet Diem, Carpet Corvette there on the side, jumping that thing, looking rally crossing the finish line. So pressure on the judges right now. Yeah. A lot of pressure on that, because that's a hard one to call, the first run versus the second run. Yeah, Rudy does have a very solid lead run here. No massive corrections we saw. Now, maybe a bit late on throttle, maybe not quite as deep as outside zone 1 as we'd like to see. Want to see that bumper on the wall. He does a really good job of setting himself up from 1 to 2. Transition to 3 looks good. It's back on throttle. Time to there. It looks like making a bit of contact. Inside flip looks solid. I mean, this is a great lead run here from Rudy Hansen with a couple of minor things he's got to clean up, and that does provide an amazing opportunity for Tommy Lemaire to be able to dial things in the chase. It's a difficult one. I was gonna say strange. It's not strange. It's just strange. It's just yeah. Both drivers need to clean up things a little bit and tidy it up, man. The judges need to decide what mistake means more. You know, Rudy being way far back on outside zone 1, or that momentary loss of angle, I didn't want to say straighten, that we saw from Tommy Lemaire. These buzzwords, it's all relative, I know. Yeah, you say straighten once, that's it. And that's all everybody thinks about. Welcome to my world, right? Sometimes these words and you hang on it, but rightfully so. You know, their careers, they're looking for it, and we're trying to elevate, man. We're doing what we're to do. This is an incredibly difficult thing we're asking these drivers to do, and it's very easy for anybody to just criticize a small mistake, but for 99% of the people watching at home or here in the stands, we couldn't get around the track once. So these drivers able to do this. Speak for yourself. Yeah, hey, I'm down. You want to go battle? I'm down. I know you have your G35, right? You have your G35. We got to find a car that there's a couple cars we can get you into. One of the RTRs would be good. So let's see what the judges think here. Slide him left, slide him right, or slide him down the middle one more time. And again, just finding that secret sauce. What's he got? Let's see if he can bring Dominican's finest back to the box. Jack as well. Again, got his first ever Formula Drift podium. He dreamt about it, he said. And finally, there he is, looking up at James Deane. I mean, everybody looks up to James Deane. He's tall. Jack Shanahan out front. And look at Castro. Boom! Finds it right there. Well done. Jack Shanahan backs it in. Dumps like a truck. What? BMW into that third outside zone. Again, there's that grip I was talking about. Castro, I think, might have got a little disrupted with that bumper tap of Shanahan. Oh, no! Shanahan shuts it down before the finish line. And let's take a look at Castro as well, because he shut it down, but I don't know if it was because of Jack. Don't want to jump to conclusions, but let's take a look at this again. Jack was on a heater.
He was.
The only thing I would say is might have impeded on that bumper tap into Castro, and did, again, wasn't independent. We got metal, what's that? Just a, take a look. Here, look at it again.
Everything.
Run it back.
Yeah, Jack Shanahan right out of the gate looks great. Just able to get that car up to the wall, starts to gain that proximity on it. But look at Castro doing exactly what we expect from Castro. Really tight chase there, and then a bit of tic-tac contact all the way through from Shanahan catching that. And really, the story unfolds on our last outside zone. What happened to Jack Shanahan? Transitions out. When he goes to get back on throttle, there is nothing there. So whether the engine shut down, maybe something broke, it's really, really tough to say. But yeah, just not able to put any power down at that point. And thankfully, Castro gets the car, adds a bit more angle, and just gets a bit of a door tap on that one. That's really weird. Let's listen in, see if we can, what we can hear. Oh yeah, breaks up right at the end. So can catch that engine noise, kind of just shutting down, and then a little bit of sputtering. And yeah, that is a tough go, and they are bringing it back to the pits. Don't worry, I don't think that oil trail was from him.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate. We're just bigging up, Connor Shanahan driving the BMW. Here's Jack. That car is maintained and worked on by the RCP camp, the Garagistic camp. So it looks like Jack did hit the wall, and he damaged a wheel and tire. So
but turns it back around. I mean,
he jumped right back out there. He can call a comp timeout.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder if the shutdown was something else. I don't think he's doing a gear change. Like, I don't think he's shifting gears at that point, and maybe it was a misshift. But I don't know exactly if he would be changing gears at that point.
Yeah, and I mean, there's Jack pulling back up to the line. We'll see if he can call a competition timeout. The other driver would therefore automatically be able to change out his wheel and his tire. Yeah,
so we're just kind of running through all that
scenarios. Yeah,
so it's definitely a bit of a strange one. It's that. Yeah, I was going to say it's two independents, but it's not really in this case, and because Jack shut it down, and then Castro had nowhere to go, so he caught him there. So take a look. Okay, this is the other Shanahan team. Now take a look at the car.
Yeah, Brutsky, Shanahan. This is crazy, man. It's what I really love is, so I'll get to it. I'll break it down, but Shanahan has called the comp timeout. All right. Let's see. Thank you, Cerise. As we are seeing, this is Hansen, right? Hansen and Tommy Lemaire. And this is one more time. It was unanimous. It was, thank you so much, a one more time unanimous between Hansen and Tommy Lemaire. Beautiful day, like I said, 79 degrees, nice coastal breeze coming off. Absolutely. Bluebird day. Here we go. Tommy Lemaire. The XPN Corvette, Rudy Hansen chasing him down. Tommy Lemaire high on the bank. Looks like backing it in. Sensors are absolutely going off, smashing that back left, and that's gonna retire him real quick. That back left corner smashing in. Rudy doesn't need to complete it. This will be an advantage for Hansen. Tommy Lemaire at a disadvantage. He can fix it, get the car back out there, but I'll tell you what, those Corvettes, not the easiest. That back end, when you need to work on that thing, it is very tough. Ask Matt Field and his camp.
Yeah, a lot going on back there, but Tommy Lemaire all good, waving to the fans, and
Bummer for Tommy Lemaire. What you were talking about it. Go ahead and elaborate on Tommy Lemaire and his accreditation. Just what a great young man he is.
Yeah, I mean, coming from Canada, he's a legend. Coming out of the Quebec series, there's so many incredible drivers that drive within Quebec, and Tommy's one of the drivers that elected to kind of leave there and spread his wings and come down to the States and do a lot of driving there. But if you drive in Canada, that name just resonates with you, and he has just set such a high bar for drifting in Canada and Quebec in particular. So it's really cool for me to have a fellow countryman out here and somebody that I've thankfully been able to watch drive for a number of years.
Yeah.
So he's just a great guy.
Yeah, and the drift scene in Canada just has evolved over the years from Drift Mania, DMCC, FD Canada, you know, going to St. Eustache back in the day, RIP, kind of like the Irwindale of the North. You know, St. Eustache was just such a great track, some great memories. Us going up there. What is it? Mo Speed.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, there's iCar, Shannonville. There's so many amazing.
Yeah,
tracks
but I just remember going to those events and some great drivers over the years.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. So as we go back to the second run of this battle, if you can recall, Shanahan got into the wall. He called a comp timeout. He had a chunk of his wheel taken out, so he was forced to take the comp timeout. Castro was allowed to change his tire, but he opted not to. So Castro going out in that lead position and kind of a slow roll into this, but that allows Jack Shanahan to have good proximity there. And Castro, look at it, there's Jack right there. Castro, good angle from him on that outside zone, brings in an outside zone too. So not exactly the highest, but more precision, but definitely escapes that outside zone 3. That allows Jack to drop into formation, into that chase position, and look at right there. So again, Castro, good fluid, nice run, but it wasn't just bam, punch you in the face. So look at that, how quickly the tides turn there, Jacob.
Yeah, I mean, really for Castro, what do you have to lay down to try and walk away with the win? You've got to make sure you get through that entire run, because for Jack, I mean, he wasn't able to. It came very close, but not able to complete an entire run. So really, for Castro, it's just get around this track. But to me, I'd be wanting to throw down at least something that I know I'm going to be happy about. For Castro, missing 3, not amazing. A lot of drivers struggling through that section. And for Jack Shanahan, you've got to try and create some sort of mistake in the lead, being the chase car there. You've got to put a lot of pressure in, basically be in his mirrors the entire way around the track, hope that something happens in the lead that allows you to take home the win here, because this is it's not looking good for Jack Shanahan, who had that massive shutdown and then that contact right at the very end for Castro. And a lot of other drivers, though, outside zone 3, just really not coming together for him. But other than that, Castro had a great job in the lead. Just, you know, get that one thing dialed in, and Castro's set. So, yeah, get some hand signals going. I'd love to know what happened to Jack Shanahan at the line there.
Yep, here we go. Are we getting a verdict? Slide him left, slide him right. Shanahan and Castro. Castro gets 1 vote, 2 votes. So, again, too little, too late there for Jack Shanahan. Castro did just enough, but keep in mind, in order to advance, again, from 16 into 8, he's going to go against either Trenton Beechum or Odie Bakchis. So Castro lives to see another day. Unfortunately, Shanahan getting into that wall takes himself out, so that definitely hurt him. But Jack, hold your head high. We'll see you in Utah. Loving to see how Jack Shanahan and his Formula Drift U.S. program proceeds. Trenton Beechum, Odie Bakchis. So Trenton Beechum in the lobby of the hotel this morning. I said, who you got? He said, Odie. I said, easy, easy. He was joking. He was obviously joking. He knows what Odie is capable of and how good of a driver he is. But I'll tell you what, Trenton Beechum, definitely a talented driver. Love his energy, his refinement, his progression as a driver. So let's see what he's got. Beechum will lead because Odie Bakchis, keep in mind, he got knocked out early in St. Louis. That's why he found himself in the seeding brackets, not locked in that top 16, got knocked out early on. And, you know, his championship efforts, some crazy things really need to happen in order for him to get all the way to the top of the box for the biggest trophy of all 2025 championship. Trent Beechum initiates, big angle from him, and look at this, Odie Bakchis giving himself maybe too much room to breathe as Beechum, that ESR Kumho tires BMW in the second outside zone. Beechum, settle, look at this, the White Widow, baby, coming into that inside clip, right on it, now transition in, and we're cool, calm, and collected, but Beechum is as well, wow. Speaking of Beechum, man, that guy's got a tropical drink in his hand, an umbrella, and and his toes in the sand because he is down by the beach. He is chilling.
Yeah.
Jake chilling hard right now.
When Beechum is on it, he is absolutely on it. We're seeing that right here. I mean, he is a former Pro 2 champion. He's had a bunch of breakthrough events. When everything is dialed, he is there. Now look, he does have that correction coming off the bank. But Odie Bakchis not nearly as aggressive, maybe not giving up respect to Trenton. Beechum has a great run here. Another driver, though, struggling on outside zone 3. And then by the end of this run, Odie Bakchis realizes the speed and precision that is coming out of Beechum in front of him and has to dial things in much, much better. But yeah, another driver outside zone 3, just kind of eluding them that little bit. But Odie, I would be a little bit worried for Odie at this point, because
I think Odie got surprised.
Yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, you gotta put some respect on it.
Surprise, mother father. You know what I'm saying? You thought I was gonna go there.
You got me.
Our eyes all rise, large fries. Here we go. Odie Bakchis, Trenton Beechum. Odie Bakchis out front, field suspension, S chassis. Look at Trenton Beechum. Where is this guy? Whatever he had for breakfast, do that again. Well done. Oh, he drops. Oh, he comes out of drift. So these guys are weeble wobbles into that power alley now into this third outside zone. There goes Odie. Trenton Beechum. Gonna need that overhead. Let's get that truth serum in the kitchen, baby. We are cooking it up. Don't burn the meatloaf. Mom, meatloaf, what's she doing back there? Wow.
Yeah, really strange. It almost feels like, and there's a complete guess that maybe Odie Bakchis is down on power, because I mean, Beechum was all over him on that first outside zone, and then for Odie, some strange things going on with the car gripping up, or maybe not having the power to really put down. It's just not like what we expect from Odie Bakchis. So first outside zone, Odie's up there. He's up on the bank. Not a ton of angle, but tons of speed coming through. And there, those two spots, big corrections for Odie. He misses that second outside zone, is able to sink some of the car from the third outside zone. Beechum adapting quite well to what looks like a struggling Odie Bakchis out front. I mean, everything looked really good for Odie in seeding yesterday. An incredible run all the way through, only losing to Branden. This just seems very, very out of character for him.
Tell you what, the way Trenton is driving is really, really good. And again, with that humility of saying, like, Odie, easy. He was joking, but he knows who he's going against. But that also, when you know what to expect, you're going to drive better. You know what I mean? Again, not naming names, but there's some drivers you're like, okay, I'm going to go against this guy. I don't know what to expect. You know what you're going to get with Odie.
Yeah, it's going to be heads up. It's going to be fast. He's going to be all committed all the way through. So to chase that is great, but just coming out of outside zone 1, those two corrections, just very, very strange, and then not being able to make it out to the second outside zone. So judges have a lot to look at. You know, maybe Beechum had a feeling early on.
I got a feeling. Slide him left for Beechum, right for Odie Bakchis, and look at this. Odie Bakchis is knocked out. Trenton Beechum gets the victory. Well done by Beechum. Like I said, the confidence there. Moving on to our next battle, Rome Charpentier, RCP, and Rad Dan Burkett doing Formula Drift Instagram Takeover. A great addition. Rad Industries, that Mark IV Toyota Supra. He's been chasing down the Garagistic BMW RCP, Rome Charpentier. Rome's mom and dad always in the building. They're cheering him on. Proud mom and dad. Here we go. Now initiating in. Good straight line approach. Brad Dan comes out of angle. He is riding the wall. That's not where you want to be. You just want that back bumper, not that driver's side. Rome Charpentier does need to complete the entirety of this run. He will have an advantage. Rad Dan Burkett having issues. He crawls his way, tail between his legs.
Yeah, man. Look, everything looked so good for Rad Dan all the way through practice. Really had things dialed in. I mean, a driver that took home 4th here in 2022. He's no stranger to this track and normally drives it quite well. So once we get back to the replay, we'll understand maybe something happened. Not entirely sure. So Rome out front, Rad Dan following in behind, and Dan just not able to keep that car at angle. Grips up, slides around, and ends up putting the front end of the car, taps into Rome. Thankfully for Dan, he's not riding that wall all the way around. That could get a lot worse for these drivers, and for Rome, got to finish that run out, being in the lead. Doesn't matter what's going on in the chase. Does a pretty good job here through these zones. One of the better drivers through outside zone 3, transitioning through onto our last outside zone. Rome looks quite solid in the lead. And for Raddan, I'm really curious what all went down, because it just looked like a shutdown right off the bat for Raddan, who's now making his way back to the pits. And we'll see what his team gets their hands on and try to understand what all was going on with that Mark IV Supra.
This season has really shaped up. Yes, we have, you know, Freddie and James Deane leading the charge, but I'll tell you the variety of drivers that have won or progressed. You know, here's Beechum, here's Castro, here's Manoa, and here's Hansen and TLO. Here goes Rudy Hansen initiating. Tommy Lemaire chased him down. Remember, Tommy Lemaire took himself out that back left corner, smashing it in. Oh, and Rudy Hansen does exceed the track line, but we'll see if he can salvage this. Rudy Hansen kind of parking it there, transitioning, but is that going to be offsetting? You know, he had some mistakes. Is that an incomplete? 2 tires off for sure, transitioning out. We saw TLO go off course, and I'm sure we'll get a side-by-side here, but if you can recall, TLO going off course, taking himself out.
Yeah, big thing I'm looking at here is with Rudy Hansen, did he go 3 wheels off? If he did, that is an incomplete for him at that point. We get into a really interesting situation where both lead drivers incompleting 2 different parts of the track. Tough to say there, but if he didn't, it was right on the very edge of the line. Getting through the rest of it, though, I mean, with that awkward line that we saw from Rudy Hansen, does not set himself up well for the rest of the run. He's able to salvage it, and Tommy's able to salvage it as well, but just not a great time there for either driver, both struggling coming off the bank. So it's really tough to tell. Definitely 2 wheels off there. First glance, I thought maybe he did go 3 wheels off for Rudy Hansen, but we'll have to see. I'm sure there's a couple of camera angles we can play with. The judges now taking a look at everything we got, and this is going to be the truth. Oh, that is so close, right in the shadow of the car. Oh, man.
You're merely adopted. I was born in it.
That line was living in the shadows there.
That's what I said. That's exactly what it was implied.
That is a tough go for both drivers, and the judges are going to have to scrutinize this as much as possible to understand, did Rudy actually complete that run? He did park it pretty hard outside zone 3, and Tommy Lemaire might have some luck on his hands here, but not entirely sure.
Let's see what we got. Slide him left for Tommy Lemaire, right for Rudy Hansen, and Tommy Lemaire got a big break there, literally got a big break. He took himself out. As we are taking a look, and looks like we're going to get some words from Reese Marin. Judges review. Reese, over to you, buddy.
Yeah, as we can see here, we see Tommy Lemaire has a huge error at the end of outside zone 1. Ended up getting the 0 there. And then when we go into the lead for Rudy, you can see right here that is 1, 2, 3 tires off. That is 2 zeros in the lead, and we're going one more time.
Yep.
Yeah, just 2 incompletes. All right, so we are looking at Federico backing up. Is Fetty out?
That is the way it is looking. That's the word I'm getting through my headphones right now is Federico.
Tapping out, huh?
Yeah, so that's going to be a bye run for Mr. Manoa.
Well, that's somebody you don't want to just be part of the conversation, because Manoa, yeah, there it is. So it's a bye run for Hiroya Manoa in Juku Racing 86 Jerry King Racing vehicle. He will advance on. So let's lay out, listen to the young man that is advancing on and got his first ever win, the youngest driver ever to win in F1.
Manoa, I mean, he's definitely a competitor who wants to battle all the way through, but for him taking that, it's, yeah, I mean, pick up those points, keep pushing things through, and keep cementing that legacy that he's building at such a young age.
Yeah. Is that
the second battle here?
The second battle. Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, Raddan, as you saw earlier, going off course, slamming into the wall. So Dan Burkett will lead. He chased him down. Rome did finish it out, so he has a major advantage here. Rad-Dan, and we've seen this. We said, hey, run your run. What's going to happen? So yeah, he needs to have a good lead run, and he needs a mistake from Rome Charpentier. There goes Rad-Dan initiating. Rome Charpentier giving himself quite a bit of room there. Is that strategy or is that a mistake? I would say that he's still. Whoa, buddy! Rad-Dan throws some more angle at a massive angle, exceeding the track line, but that's going to be 2 tires, or maybe just 1. But just that wall hit, looks like Rome does keep it together, and he will have an advantage. Rome flirting with shut it down there before the finish line, but lets Rad-Dan unwind past that finish.
Yeah, for Rad-Dan, he's got to throw something down that's completely epic and hope, same thing, that there is an issue with the chase car. But unfortunately for him, that did not happen here. Rad-Dan lights off pretty early, getting out to the wall, not a ton of angle, trying to run away from RCP, who does give him a good breath all the way through. Coming off that bank, though, there is Rad-Dan, tons of angle, and superseding the edge of the track by those 2 wheels, as Jared said earlier. Rest of the run looks pretty solid here from Rad-Dan, and Rome getting pretty close at that finish line and shutting her down, but able to keep the drift and continuing on. We did shorten up that finish line for the drivers as per their request, so they weren't just kind of driving straight at the end of it, but judges now come out with their verdict.
And there it is officially, Rome Charpentier moving on. Absolutely. Frederick Osbo will lead. Changing up tires, you know, and something that sticks out in my mind is round 1. He says nobody talks about the front tires. I mean, they're running the same manufacturer front to back, but how big of a role does that play? And that was something he brought up on the podium with his victory. So we'll see if it lands well here on a very abrasive track here. I mean, it's like 5 grit sandpaper. It eats them alive. And look at that, Freddie. I mean, just no doubt the placement of that car, and just so settled. The car is stuck to it like a Dyson vacuum now. Oh, buddy! And just I talk about that, looks like Freddie shut it down? Or was that Stuckey being too aggressive? Let's run it back. Again, yeah. It seemed that, to me, it seemed that Freddie was slowing down.
Yeah, I caught the same vibe right off the first viewing. And it's hard to say.
Oh, boy. The plot thickens.
Yeah, that was really, really strange. All right, kicking things off, Frederick Osbo out front, Daniel Stuckey in the chase. I mean, Osbo looks so planted all the way through this. Look at the line that he carries all the way through. Stuckey in that chase real hard. Osbo makes a bit of a momentum change there. Outside zone 2 looks good, outside zone 3, and this is what we got to watch for.
He stops. He absolutely stops. He taps the wall, and it looks like it just triggered it, right?
Yeah.
I could see the smoke coming from your ears and the back of that Supra, but it doesn't come from the back.
It's a really weird scenario. It does on viewing look like Frederick Osbo might have shut down through that section or something turned off. Catches the wall. He still has angle. I'm not seeing the tire smoke. Little tough on that angle, but yeah, that is.
They're saying Osbo's at fault.
Okay, well, we're gonna have some conversations here with spotters and everything else, trying to understand what is going on. But that is very, very strange for Frederick Osbo. Then pulls off. I mean, for the championship implications,
yeah,
this is everything.
Sorry to cut you off, but the spotters are right in front of us and looking down. The body language cannot be read by Frederick Osbo's spotter, and just taking it on the chin, just like, yep, yeah. I mean, there was no like questioning or anything at all. So look at this. This is very interesting. We talk about the championship. So let's listen up and listen to that exhaust note. That was a violent hit. That was wheel on wheel.
It was a good crack.
That's a good crack, man.
Yeah. I mean, not good
Let's
crack
give it a crack.
That's
a bad crack in the, if you're one of the drivers or the teams. But very interesting for Frederick Osbo. Uncharacteristic. Car shuts down. Freddie's at fault, and now the plot thickens for the championship. And look, this battle's not over. If you're a Frederick fan, you're pulling for him. I met some young kids building Legos earlier. They are all Frederick fans. They've been coming since they were like 4 years old, and it's really cool. But right now, if you're a Frederick fan, you're wondering what the heck is going on. That was absolutely uncharacteristic of that vehicle, that driver, and that combination.
Yeah, really strange. I was hoping to get some sort of reading, even Steph Papadakis right in front of us, trying to see if there was anything coming off of him. But just a really, really strange scenario, and unfortunately a pretty good hit. Now, for Stuckey, this is a massive, massive advantage, but the rest of his run looked really solid too, so Stuckey's on it, but man, that's
all right. So, yeah, sorry to cut you off. Cerise has a report. Cerise, down to you. What happened?
Yeah, guys, of course, this is very uncharacteristic of Freddie. Now, he just told me while he's in the car, his team is obviously taking care of what they need to. It was a misshift. Unfortunately, these things happen when you're driving at this level of competition. These variables do come into play. Let me see if I can get, hey, Freddie, really quick, any strategy going into this next lap?
You know, we just got to do what we can do behind him, but it's really up to Stuckey now to put down a good lead run. If he has a mistake, you know, we might get, but I think the chances are pretty slim. But we're going to try and get this ready and get out there for the chase.
Yeah, wonderful. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Thank you, Cerise. Great insight there. It happens, and this is what I talked about. You know, they do have imperfections, and that one was wildly highlighted in that third outside zone, tapping the wall, misshift. There it goes. So here we go with one more time. This is the second run of this battle, and looks like it will be a restart.
Yeah, to get the guys flip back around there as we take a look in the pits here with Osbo, and it looks like they're checking all the suspension arms to see, make sure everything is all good to go. A couple of tools handed over, running out of batteries, hot swapping those, hot swapping engines, battery packs, everything.
Yeah.
The team is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, great. I'm just absolutely baffled on something, but that's what you get, you know, with Formula Drift. You're just like, you know, somebody asked me, who's going to win? My buddy James is like, who's going to win? I'm like, I mean, all signs are saying it's James and Freddie, but then something like this happens. Yeah. All right, so here goes Tommy Lemaire out front. Rudy Hansen in the chase position. You can see a good angle there from Tommy Lemaire. Look at that jump. You can see there's a little hop there at the tail end of that outside zone one. Popping through the smoke is Rudy Hansen. Not as close as he needs to be. Now past that inside clip, transitioning back and around. In that last outside zone, Rudy Hansen just bathing and marinating in that smoke. Looked like something off of your grill there, homeboy.
I could only be so lucky. I'm dreaming of the grill. Yeah, dreaming of the grill when I get home. But Tommy Lemaire, changing up a little bit on this car. It seems a little bit more hoppy, as Jared was alluding to. First outside zone. He's got it up there, a bit of a waggle back and forth, trying to find the grip, find the balance in the car. While Rudy, lower line, not able to get that proximity, and that bit of a hop that we talked about earlier. Second outside zone looks much better, obviously better than running it into the wall. Third outside zone from Tommy looks great. He is much more locked in, and then a late dive for Rudy Hansen before outside zone 4, just to try and gain that proximity, finish the run on a high note, close to the car, hopefully influence the judges a bit there as we flip back over, and we get here 1 minute 45 left on the clock for the Osbo team.
That would be a crazy early retirement. Frederick Osbo, James Deane advancing. James moving a step closer and then advancing on. Adam LZ could shake things up, sitting in third, lurking in the shadows. Here we go. Battle at hand. Rudy Hansen, Tommy Lemaire. The second half of this battle is one going to rise for the occasion and move on. Hansen out front initiates. Tommy Lemaire, good proximity, gives him a little bit of room. You can see him inching closer. Rudy Hansen at speed, coming into that power alley. Great angle there from Smash. Now into that third outside zone. Tommy Lemaire hung it out a little too long. Saw him grip up, escaping that third outside zone past the inside clip. Both of them transitioning flawlessly into that outside zone 4. Well done. An exclamation point, but some mistakes in the middle. So a bit of a, bit of a sandwich. Let's take a look.
Yeah. Clock continuing to run down below a minute at this point. We've got mechanics still under the car. I don't know if they're going to beat the clock here. Oh man, tough go. We'll get back to that in a second. But our battle at hand, Rudy Hansen getting that car out. Not out to the wall as much as we'd be hoping for. But Tommy does a good job of adapting to the lower line of Rudy Hansen. A little bit of a left foot brake, taking a pretty tight line in, just getting in and out of that zone. And for Tommy Lemaire, overshoots just a little bit. Was following the line of Rudy Hansen throughout that. Great transition from Tommy Lemaire. Puts it right back into the side of Rudy Hansen at the fourth and final zone as we see the seconds count down. That's it.
No way. Oh, he made it. Holy cow. Down to the second. Is that legal? We good? He said he made it. Yo. I didn't even need to ask. So, yeah, thumbs up. It looks like Frederick has made it. Still, I mean, even with having gotten the car back together, you're baffled. Dude, pick up your chin.
Man, I thought that was it.
Is that drool?
A little bit. That was incredible. That team got that together.
All right, Tommy Lemaire, Rudy Hansen looks like TLO. Tommy Lemaire from Canada gets the win, advancing on after a one more time battle. Tommy Lemaire definitely got a lucky break with Rudy Hansen making a mistake on that battle. The hood is popped. And unfortunately, a little insult to injury. Hopefully Rudy's car is okay. We'll see him and his lovely lady Shelly, and we'll see them in Utah. Let's see Ryan Tuerck leading Simon Olsen, giving chase. Tuerck talking about setup. Simon Olsen just progressing, just where he's at, the car setup, everything. I just feel like he's just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think just him as a driver, coming from Norway just a few moons ago, and the way the super setup is definitely, it is a competitor. Here we go, Ryan Tuerck talking about his setup and what he needs to do. And look at both these cars, very settled. It's all Toyota battle. Ryan Tuerck, that Rain-X Toyota GR Corolla now coming into the into the third. Simon comes up way short on the third outside zone. Giving him all the praise like you do, and now in that last outside zone, there goes Ryan. He said he loves his track. Obviously, the track loves him.
Yeah, he looks really smooth throughout this entire thing, and for Simon Olsen, just getting caught in the smoke, and then it becomes a bit of a patience game and trying to time out when you need to punch out, and unfortunately not able to get it dialed in. But man, look at Tuerck and how quickly he gets that car to angle and how stable he looks through outside zone one. It's such a great opportunity for Simon to show off his chasing ability. He does a great job. Now through that second outside zone, that's what it was. I mean, Simon Olsen gets caught in that smoke line, doesn't transition at the right time, but doesn't panic, doesn't freak out, and this shows how much he has grown up as a driver, where, you know, so many drivers would just freak out and not know where to go. For Simon Olsen, let's instant kick back in, get out of the smoke, find where you are on track, and get back into battle. But for Ryan Tuerck, completely locked in all the way through this run. Tuerck is on form, and now for Simon Olsen, he has got to put down a monumental lead and hope that Tuerck makes an uncharacteristic mistake in the chase.
We'll soon find out. Simon Olsen will lead. Ryan Tuerck chase him down. Just a few more battles of our Rockstar Energy Drink Top 32. Steve Mateus, shout out Jen Calvin. All the Rockstar cats had a great time celebrating Colby Raha, 205 feet, breaking a world record. The largest jump on a V-twin ramp-to-ramp at Sturgis last weekend. So that was awesome. Speaking of Rockstar Energy. Right now, it's all Norway versus America. Toyota versus Toyota. The Mark V Super of Simon Olsen out front. Settled. Look at that. That lip almost dragging, pulling that right wheel off the ground. Into the power alley. Great proximity for Ryan Tuerck. Looks like he comes up this short. Little failure to launch on the transition from Ryan Tuerck. Not as dramatic as we saw from Simon Olsen. The placement of Olsen right now, really well done. Again, little mistakes here and there, but some real good initiation. I got to say, both of them executed the lead versus lead and chase versus chase on outside zone one, but the tumultuous part is, again, in the middle, the meat.
Yeah, both drivers, as you said, their initiations look good. Nice and fluid out to the wall. With Simon, a couple of corrections. You see that left foot brake kicking off. That's that smoke off the front tire. And then Tuerck really gets into the pocket there. Simon puts a bit more angle. Tuerck over angles a little bit on second outside zone. And then right there for Simon Olsen, third outside zone looks solid. Tuerck back into the fight by the fourth. So really interesting, this cause and effect that we see with the lead versus the chase. This is definitely an interesting one. That new momentum section that the drivers asked for coming off outside zone one is wreaking a little bit of a havoc. This is one of those sometimes you get exactly what you ask for, and may not be exactly what you want. So judges, taking all the consideration from those drivers and saying, yep, we understand that a bunch of you are seeing a bit of a momentum change coming off of one. We'll allow that, and if something happens, we'll leave it in our hands, and that's where it is right now. So BC Racing custom coilover side by side We've got Simon Olsen out front on the right, Tuerck out front on the left. Proximity looks very similar between both drivers in the chase. Coming off that bank, looks like a bit more of a midline for Simon Olsen. Tuerck gets out a little bit wider, but then Tuerck missing outside zone 3. Inside clip looks very similar to both drivers. And then outside zone 4, very similar once again, although Simon maybe a bit closer through there. So yeah, just I mean, it's a sparring match here between these drivers in the zones that they need to clean up.
Yep, so again, just different advancements from the programs. You know, Simon Olsen obviously progressing. You know, he made his introduction to FD. He parked the Supra, went to Odie's camp, and now here it is, a one more time across the board. Yeah, it's unanimous. And I know Chris Bergender, he stepped up as part of the program and getting that car dialed. Talking to Simon Spotter, it's Chris's lady, and just overall program has changed.
That win tastes just as sweet as that Canadian maple syrup that you guys got hanging out of the booth. I love that. Well done. The momentum is so important when you're in competition, as we just talked about. So keep it up, get out there, and just have fun.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so TLO gets some words, high fives, and handshakes as Matt, the Beast from the Bay, advances on. And he will be going against either Chris Forsberg or yesterday's birthday boy, Jhonnattan Hurst. Matt Field, the Borla Heatwave Lean Customs Corvette. Here we go. We are looking at Stuckey in that Kenda Tires S15 going back against Frederick Osbo. Freddie shutting it down. Said he misshifted. So there is a big hill to climb for Frederick Osbo. Stuckey has the clean air. This is a favorable position for Stuckey to take down the three-time champion and current points leader in that tied position. Stuckey into that first outside zone, no big deal. Doesn't exactly get an outside zone 2, but that's going to be enough with that incomplete for Frederick Osbo. Past one clip, one more last outside zone, and he's taking down the former champ of Frederick Osbo.
Yeah.
There it is, just like that. What an unfortunate turn of events for Osbo, but you know who's stoked? And Stuckey is. Stuckey is Stokey right now as far as taking down a three-time champion, but I would say he took down himself with that misshift.
It happens. It happens, especially with tracks where we have a lot of dynamic speed changes. Drivers are having to change gears midway through runs, and it's every time you add another variable, that's one more variable that could go wrong for Stuckey. Not quite able to make it all the way out to outside zone 2, outside zone 3, getting that wheel dipped in, but looking very comfortable in the lead for Frederick Osbo. You just have to hope that something crazy happens to the other Kenda driver in front of you. But unfortunately for him, that is just not the case here. Stuckey able to get through that run. Yeah, that is heartbreaking, and another massive shakeup here.
And there it is. Frederick Osbo knocked out. Daniel Stuckey gets the win. All new Z. Going to be cranking some Neft and Nos after this. Hopefully on the box, we'll see. Or is it going to be Jhonnattan Hurst? Forsberg initiates. Comes out of it a little bit, but then sticks it to the wall. Jhonnattan Hurst a little bit lower there. Good proximity. Some wavering from the Cadillac, pulling that front right tire off into the second outside zone, into the power alley. 20 years Chris has been coming here. Has been on the box, would love to do it again. Transition down to the last outside zone. Good transition from both the drivers. Jhonnattan Hurst dropping into formation, but you can see just some wavering in that chase position. The car not exactly settled in the chase. Again, seemed like he was trying to play catch up, just kind of grasping at the straws, trying to grab it, and eventually cross the finish line.
Yeah, for Hurst, he's really working that car a lot, and Chris Forsberg looks very stable all the way through. Gets up to the zone. I mean, Hurst just trying to figure out where he needs to be, not able to get comfortable at any point in the chase. Chris having to really push that car out, kind of decels partway through that zone, but I mean, Hurst really wasn't in a position where that's going to affect them all that massively. I'm sure it does to some, but yeah, just a tough go for Jhonnattan Hurst, who just at no point really felt comfortable as we take a look at a very dejected Frederick Osbo. This is going to be a tough way to spend the rest of this weekend for him, having to look back and understand how one small hand movement in a misshift took out, potentially have massive championship implications for him.
Absolutely. This is just shaking things up here. But right now, the task at hand, Jhonnattan Hurst will lead. Chris Forsberg giving chase. We do have the second half of this battle right here, right now, and one more battle after this, Tuerck and Olsen, and that'll complete the 32. Right now, it is Hurst out front. The Mr. Cool Cadillac look at way more settled out front, Jhonnattan Hurst. And that allows Chris Forsberg to drop in. And Jhonnattan Hurst, you can see that little left foot brake coming into the power alley, escaping that second outside zone. Forsberg dives out of the smoke, comes up shallow as Hurst was deep in that third outside zone. Proximity, now transitioning that last outside zone goes Hurst. And you could hear that thing firing off, the loudest car of the FD grid. Jhonnattan Hurst, there's Freddie looking on again, another 3-time champion on track, off track. And there they are. So Freddie, Forsberg, and James Deane, 3-time champions, and 4-time bettering it is James Deane.
Yeah, Jhonnattan Hurst, I mean, trying to get a lot more settled after a shaky chase run. Wasn't able to get all the way up to the wall. And Forsberg really putting a lot of pressure on him here. Got a little bit of wavering on his side of things as well, trying to figure out the pacing of Jhonnattan Hurst, who isn't able to get all the way out to the second outside zone, but does a great job through 3. Forsberg taking a tighter line through. I mean, this is pretty safe from Forsberg, who then in the chase isn't able to get all the way to 4. This is a kind of a bit more interesting than I first realized now that we get into a couple of these zones. I mean, Forsberg's chase just not completely dialed in. Man, maybe a bit safe in a few spots. It's, yeah, side-by-side replay, and it's a good indicator that this is not an easy decision for these judges. So for me, the lead in this case, Forsberg's definitely got it. Now, Hurst struggles with that first outside zone, but so does Forsberg in a couple of spots. And as we come out, both drivers not doing a great job through the second outside zone. Third outside zone, pretty similar in the chase for both of them. Inside clip, kind of standard procedure. And then our last outside zone, both drivers in the chase missing it. So
I'm gonna repeat, good, fast, and cheap. So proximity, speed, or angle. You know, and I think both of them had moments of greatness and moments of weakness, but I would say that, you know, again, we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, it's tough. It's, do you give up some line to gain that proximity?
One more time, a Chris Forsberg vote, and a Chris Forsberg gets the win. The final battle of our Rockstar Energy Drink Top 32 has this Rockstar pilot of Ryan Tuerck going against Simon Olsen. A one more time battle. This Rain-X Toyota GR Corolla, the hot hatchback. This thing has no room for error. That back bumper is a sliver, so he's going to try to stick it to the wall and keep on keeping on. Here goes Ryan Tuerck, already taking him to Gapplebee's here on that first initiation. Simon Olsen inching his way closer and closer, kind of like a mirror, like a cat just lurking in the shadows. Simon shuts it down, very shallow from 2 to 3, past an inside clip. Ryan Tuerck, massive advantage here over the Norwegian driver. So the car coming up short on the second to the third outside zone. What went wrong?
It seemed like the exact same error that Simon made in the chase on the previous run, unfortunately. So for Ryan Tuerck out front, looks really good. Gets that car up there, slowly brings it up to the top of the bank instead of doing anything drastic. And for Simon Olsen, look how aggressive he is in the chase, mirroring so well. But really, for me, Ryan Tuerck able to just drive off the bank. And that was the biggest thing. He pushes that car off the bank, whereas Simon comes off throttle a little bit and ends up floating, and that's what caught him out, gets caught in the smoke. And then at that point, when you go to transition, Ryan Tuerck in a completely different time zone, and Simon Olsen's got to wait for him to come back around to get back into this battle. That's all it was, a little bit too much off that go, and for Simon Olsen now, he's behind the 8 ball. He's really got to make things up when he gets out into the lead. So it's, yeah, it is absolutely tough going right now for Simon Olsen, who's just got to lay down a complete heater of a lead run. And for Ryan Tuerck, his spotter's going to be telling him where that mistake was. Tuerck can't be too far back. These two drivers now initiate out to that wall.
All right, here we go. So thank you so much, Simon Olsen, Ryan Tuerck, and Simon Olsen initiates good angle there from Simon. Now Ryan Tuerck dropping a formation, and Ryan puts the car in the right place. Again, he needs to do just enough because Simon didn't have that large mistake, and it looks like one more outside zone, and it's going to be Ryan Tuerck's victory unofficially But all signs are saying it is Ryan Tuerck that will advance over Simon. That major mistake from 2 to 3, very unfortunate. We're bigging him up. Car setup, it's all there. But like Ryan said, not just one section, all of the sections.
Yeah, you've got to be able to hang all the way through, and you can see the way that Simon's driving this car. He's doing such a great job in the lead, and that's what makes that mistake all that more painful. And coming off of that zone into the second outside zone, just two very different setups, two different driving styles, and unfortunately, Ryan Tuerck was able to adapt to what Simon was able to do. Simon not able to adapt to what Ryan was doing, and that's really what it ends up coming down to in this battle. But for Simon, the progression that we saw in seeding, and what we see here, even in this, and the way he's driving, the confidence is building, the team is coming together, the car setup is there. It's going to be a couple of little things between the years for him to be able to come through and really make his mark again in this chassis as we saw in the previous one. And for Ryan Tuerck, business as usual here in Seattle.
He knows his track. He loves his track. Obviously very apparent last year, getting the win overall, getting emotional on the podium. You know, he's expecting his second kid, a great husband, father, and now a winner in the top 32. The Rockstar energy drink driver. The Rockstar advances on over Simon Olsen. Again, Chris setting up that vehicle, just not enough here in that 32. So we'll see Simon Olsen in Utah.